A frozen terror awakens deep in the icy heart of the Canadian Arctic. A discovery has shattered history and awakened something that should have stayed buried. When paleontologists uncovered the perfectly preserved remains of Frigorodroco borealasa, predatory dinosaur unlike any other, they believe they've found the scientific breakthrough of the century. With its venomous fangs, frost-resistant hide, and towering spinal crests, this creature seems ripped straight from myth. Locals whisper that it was never truly extinct, only sleeping. But when the fossil is stolen in a military-style heist, researchers realize their mistake too late. This was no ordinary theft. Someone or something wanted the frost dragon back. Now, as a deadly blizzard isolates the dig site, the team makes a horrifying discovery. The ice caves beneath them aren't empty, and the bones they've been studying, they're not all fossilized. Let us know where you're rewatching from and what time you found this video. We read every single comment. A group of paleontologists has discovered a species that is so unique that it blurs the boundary between dinosaur and myth. This discovery was made deep inside the untamed wilds of the Canadian Arctic, where the wind howls like a primeval beast and the permafrost preserves ancient secrets. Introducing Frigorodroco borealis, also known as the northern frost dragon, a realization that is shrouded in myth and mysteries. At the beginning of the narrative, a group of researchers from the University of Alberta were conducting an expedition in the Yukon Territory to investigate a glacial deposit that was beginning to shrink. It was not a typical fossil that they discovered. Rather, it was a nearly full skeleton that had been preserved in ice for 75 million years. The bones of the skeleton were so well preserved that traces of scaly skin and keratinous spines still clung to its frame. But there was no recognized species of this. An unparalleled predator in every way. Frigorodroco was a theropod of medium size, measuring around 20 feet in length. It had a sleek and powerful body that was appropriate for the harsh climate of the Arctic regions. On the other hand, what really surprised experts were its peculiar adaptations. Ice-resistant hide. Its skin had a distinctive pebbled structure with tiny grooves that may have resisted ice or perhaps retained heat, similar to the way that modern-day Arctic animals behave. Serrated frost fangs, in contrast to the teeth of conventional, carnivorous dinosaurs. This dinosaur's teeth included hollow channels. These channels may have been employed to inject a venom-like anticoagulant into its prey, which would ensure a sudden death in the freezing conditions. Dragon-like crests. Its spine was covered with a series of towering, jagged crests, which were most likely utilized for show, or perhaps for the management of heat. In real life, they may have been reddened with blood, which would have made for a startling visual contrast against the snow. In the Cretaceous period, the Arctic is a living nightmare. The Frigorodroco was not a lazy scavenger. Rather, it was a predator that was both active and crafty. According to the results of an isotopic examination of its bones, it hunted in groups, taking advantage of the extended winter darkness to ambush hadrosaurs and other smaller dinosaurs. Some scholars believe that it may have even been semi-aquatic, where it would have used frozen rivers as hunting grounds and would have broken through the ice to grab prey that was unaware of its presence. How the myths are related. The finding has sparked a raging debate among historians and cryptozoologists who are both interested in the subject. The indigenous peoples of the Arctic may have derived their mythology from Frigorodroco. When Norse immigrants arrived in Greenland, they heard about frost drakes that did not spew fire, but whose bite produced a slumber from which no one awakened. Niwut spoke of Aklid, a beast that resembled a wolf and stalked the ice. It is not anything that Dr. Elias Carter, who is the principal researcher on the project, does not consider. When you look at this creature's anatomy, the spines, the fangs, it's the way it moved its. Easy to see how oral traditions might have preserved its memory long after extinction. What is the next step? The group is now competing against the effects of climate change in order to unearth more specimens before the melting of permafrost destroys them. Even the prospect of preserved proteins being found in the bones is being investigated by geneticists in the hope of discovering the secrets of cold adaptation, which might completely transform contemporary scientific research. As far as we can tell, the northern frost dragon has completely changed the course of history. And who knows what other frozen giants are still hiding in the shadows, ready to be roused from their frigid slumber? Number 1 entry. dated June 12, 2025, we had thought that the permafrost would thaw more slowly than it is. What was once a solid mass of ice has transformed into a complex maze of slush and broken stones. We were cautioned by local advisors about things best left buried, but science does not take superstition into consideration. On the other hand, maybe it ought to. Entry number 7, the 18th of June, 2025. Something was discovered by us today. In addition to bone pieces, there was a whole spinal column that was partially encased in blue ice. It has been shown that the neural spines are unlike anything else. For the sole purpose of thermoregulation, too tall, display related to rituals, what is it? In any case, whatever it was designed to be intimidating. 13th entry, dated June 25, 2025, we were compelled to enter a cave by the storm. Inside, the walls had deep grooves that were parallel to one another, and were far too regular to be considered natural. Then we came to the bones. It is not petrified. It's mummified in appearance. Its mouths wide, crests flaring, frozen in a death stance, with their mouths gaping. There was more to this than simply death here. It had been hidden. Frozen ecosystem. The revealing of a world that was lost because of the finding of Frigoro Draco. Paleontologists have been compelled to rethink what the Arctic was like during the late Cretaceous period. This was not a desolate wasteland. Rather, it was a realm of extremes, with months of unending brightness, followed by periods of everlasting darkness. It was a place where dinosaurs developed survival techniques that were straight out of a fantasy book. The prey Ugrinalek, a tough Arctic hadrosaur, had massive wool-like feathers that were carried by herds of the animal. The healed bite scars on their bones are identical to those seen on Frigorod Roshako's teeth. The competition. It is possible that a smaller, feathered raptor known as Boreonychus competed with the frost dragon by using pack tactics in order to take kills. In the nightmare scenario, a huge crocodile known as Nivelasuchus was hiding in rivers that were beginning to thaw. Its metabolism had slowed down in order to survive the winter. The question is whether Frigoro Draco was the one that hunted it or vice versa. The arguing over venom, it was a contentious statement made by Dr. Lin Tran, a scientist who was a member of the team. He said the tooth grooves aren't just for blood drainage. A protein that attaches to hemoglobin was one of the traces that we discovered. Antifreeze was what this substance was, not venom. Not only did it prevent their teeth from breaking in the cold, but it also made sure that their victim died quickly. There are others who believe that poisonous dinosaurs are a mere speculation. Nonetheless, the habitat in which Frigoro Draco lived was anything from typical. Do you hear rumors about a living relic? An elder from a distant Inuit community that was located close to the excavation site told tales of a serpentine beast known as Taizarak, which is said to still roam ice floes to this day. When one of the hunters was shown a recreation of Frigoro Draco, they showed a pallid face. You are looking for aged bones. However, while you are out on the ice, you may sometimes hear something breathe. Log of the final expedition, dated July 4th, 2025. We are moving out of here. Because of the changing weather, the villagers are becoming more concerned. Our motion cameras were activated by something that occurred last night. There was a blur of spines and darkness. Most likely a big wolf. It is likely. In the laboratory, we will do a scan on the mummified tissue. Perhaps the answers will come to us. Maybe there are certain things that need to remain frozen.